There is a quiet truth most people do not learn until late in life. Not every test arrives with instructions, and not every examiner stands at the front of the room. Some of the most decisive examinations of your character occur invisibly, woven into ordinary days, spoken through subtle interactions, and administered by individuals who never declare their purpose. You may think you are simply living your life, but all the while, someone is watching, not to trap you, but to discern whether you are truly prepared for what lies ahead. Growth has never been announced with trumpets. If it were, we would prepare our performances instead of our character. Hidden tests exist precisely because they reveal what formal trials cannot. When no one is applauding, when there is nothing to gain, when your response seems to matter to no one, those are the moments that tell the deepest truth about who you are becoming. A person who is always told when they are being tested will learn how to act, not how to be. The one who tests you rarely does so openly, because readiness cannot be measured under pressure alone. True readiness is revealed in consistency, patience, and restraint. When someone quietly observes how you treat people who cannot benefit you, how you handle delays that inconvenience you, or how you respond when misunderstood, they are not judging your talent. Talent can be taught. They are observing your temperament, because temperament is what remains when pressure strips away preparation. Many people believe that comfort is a sign of progress, but comfort often delays readiness. A child kept from difficulty may feel protected, but they remain unprepared for adulthood. In the same way, if life never challenges your integrity, your humility, or your endurance, it may not be because you are favored, but because you are not yet trusted with more. Readiness is not proven by ease. It is proven by how you carry weight without becoming bitter, arrogant, or careless. It is important to understand that tests rarely come dressed as major events. They arrive as interruptions, as uncredited labor, as opportunities to choose honesty when dishonesty would go unnoticed. The way you speak when you believe no authority is listening matters more than how you speak when an audience is present. The way you manage frustration in small inconveniences often predicts how you will handle responsibility in larger ones. Silence, too, is part of the examination. When guidance seems absent and affirmation is withheld, it is not always neglect. Sometimes silence exists to see whether you will act on principle rather than reassurance. A person who requires constant validation is not yet free enough to lead, to build, or to protect something meaningful. Silence teaches self-governance, the ability to do what is right without being watched. Those who fail such tests often do not fail loudly. They fail slowly, through small compromises, growing entitlement, or the belief that they deserve recognition before responsibility. Those who pass often do not realize it in the moment. They simply choose patience over reaction, integrity over convenience, and humility over display. Later, they are entrusted with more, and it feels sudden, though it has been earned over time. Passing the test does not mean you arrive at a destination where struggle ends. It means you become someone capable of bearing greater purpose without losing yourself. Readiness is not a badge, it is a transformation. The real reward of the test is not the opportunity that follows, but the person you have become by enduring it well. If you feel unseen, misunderstood, or delayed, do not assume you are forgotten. You may be in the middle of a quiet evaluation, one that measures your character far more than your capability. Continue to act with integrity when no one praises you. Continue to grow when no one promotes you. What is being formed in you now may be preparing you for responsibilities you cannot yet imagine. Hidden tests are the quiet language through which real growth speaks. They do not announce themselves because growth itself is not performative. When life truly intends to shape a person, it does so subtly, embedding lessons into everyday moments rather than dramatic turning points. If every test were obvious, people would simply rehearse the correct responses. They would polish behavior without transforming the heart. Hidden tests exist precisely to bypass performance and reach authenticity. They expose what a person does when there is nothing to gain and no one to impress. Growth requires truth, and truth rarely emerges under observation. When people know they are being watched, they alter themselves. They become strategic, cautious, and often artificial. But when a test is concealed, the response is unfiltered. Patience reveals itself when no reward is promised. Integrity shows its strength when dishonesty would be easier and unnoticed. Kindness proves its depth when there is no applause. These moments are not accidental, they are the raw materials of inner development. Most people misunderstand growth because they associate it with visible progress, promotion, recognition, or success. Yet inner growth often looks like stagnation from the outside. A person may feel overlooked, delayed, or underestimated, not realizing that these conditions are essential training grounds. Hidden tests teach endurance, and endurance cannot be taught in comfort. A life that never frustrates you may protect your feelings, but it will not strengthen your character. Growth begins when expectations are unmet and continues when resentment is resisted. There is also a moral intelligence at work in hidden tests. They teach discernment rather than obedience. When instructions are absent, a person must rely on internal values. This is where true maturity forms. A person who only does what is right when directed has not yet learned responsibility. They have learned compliance. Growth demands the ability to choose wisely even when guidance is unclear. Hidden tests cultivate this independence of conscience. Another purpose of hidden tests is to reveal consistency. Anyone can act well for a moment. Consistency, however, is revealed only over time and in repetition. When small challenges recur without recognition, patterns emerge. How you treat the same people daily, how you respond to recurring stress, how you speak when tired or disappointed. These repeated moments expose who you truly are. Growth is not measured by isolated victories, but by sustained character. Hidden tests also protect the individual from premature elevation. Responsibility given too early can damage rather than develop. Just as heavy weight can injure untrained muscles, authority can corrupt unprepared character. Hidden tests act as safeguards, ensuring that strength develops before burden increases. When a person fails quietly, they are spared public collapse. When they succeed quietly, they are strengthened without pride. In this way, hidden tests are not punishments but mercies. There is an uncomfortable humility required to accept that growth is happening even when progress is invisible. Many abandon their development because they mistake silence for stagnation. They assume that if nothing is changing outwardly, nothing is changing at all. In reality, the most important changes often occur beneath the surface. Roots grow downward before branches grow upward. Hidden tests deepen those roots, making future growth stable rather than fragile. These tests also refine motivation. They ask a difficult question repeatedly. Why are you doing this? When recognition is removed, intention is exposed. If a person only works hard when praised, their motivation is external and fragile. If they remain diligent when unnoticed, their motivation is internal and durable. Growth requires this internal foundation because external rewards are unpredictable. A life built on applause collapses when applause fades. Hidden tests are often mistaken for neglect, but they are deliberate spaces where strength is formed without spectacle. They teach a person to live truthfully rather than impressively. They strip away the need to be seen and replace it with the ability to stand firm alone. This is why growth achieved through hidden tests lasts longer than growth achieved through sudden success. It is quieter, slower, and far more difficult, but it produces a person who is not easily shaken by circumstance or opinion. Ultimately, hidden tests speak the language of growth because growth itself is an internal transformation. They are not designed to make life harder, but to make the individual deeper. What they measure is not what you can do when everything is clear, but who you are when nothing is explained. A test that announces itself immediately changes the behavior of the one being tested. The moment a person knows they are under evaluation, they begin to manage appearances. They choose words more carefully, restrain impulses more strategically, and often behave in ways that reflect expectation rather than truth. This is why the tester rarely reveals themselves. Readiness cannot be measured through performance. It must be observed through unguarded living. What matters most is not how a person behaves when they know the standard, but how they act when no standard has been spoken aloud. Those who test in silence are not being deceptive, they are being precise. Their goal is not to catch failure, but to understand nature. Just as one learns more about a river by watching how it flows than by asking where it intends to go, a tester learns more by observing patterns than by issuing commands. Announced tests produce rehearsed answers. Unannounced tests produce reality. Readiness lives in reality, not in intention. There is also a matter of trust involved. Someone who reveals themselves as the examiner assumes that the person being tested can already handle the pressure of awareness. Often, that is not yet the case. Awareness of evaluation can create anxiety, self-consciousness, or resentment, all of which distort behavior. By remaining hidden, the tester allows the individual to remain natural. This is especially important when evaluating character, because character under strain often disguises itself. Another reason the tester remains unannounced is that readiness includes emotional regulation. When people know they are being tested, they often suppress frustration temporarily. They become polite on cue, patient on demand. But readiness requires the ability to manage emotion consistently, not selectively. Observing someone when they are tired, disappointed, or inconvenienced reveals far more than observing them at their best. Silence allows these moments to surface without interference. Hidden testers also understand that authority should not be feared to be respected. If a person behaves well only when authority is visible, they are controlled, not mature. Maturity is revealed when values operate independently of supervision. A hidden test measures internal governance, the ability to choose restraint, honesty, and care even when consequences seem absent. This quality cannot be trained through instruction alone. It must be discovered through observation. There is also wisdom in protecting the individual from self-awareness too early. When people become overly aware of being evaluated, they may begin to calculate outcomes rather than live truthfully. They start asking, "What will this get me?" instead of, "What is right?" A hidden test keeps motivation pure. It allows action to flow from belief rather than ambition. This purity of motive is essential for roles that require trust, because power magnifies intention. The tester's silence often serves another function. It reveals whether a person seeks approval or responsibility. Those who constantly look for affirmation often struggle when affirmation is withheld. By remaining unannounced, the tester observes how a person responds to invisibility. Do they withdraw effort? Do they grow resentful? Or do they remain faithful to their values regardless of recognition? Readiness demands the capacity to work without applause. Hidden testing also prevents dependency. If a person knows who is watching, they may begin to rely on that presence for direction and validation. This creates compliance, not competence. Silence forces the individual to rely on their own judgment. Over time, this develops discernment, the ability to make wise decisions without external reinforcement. Discernment is one of the clearest markers of readiness. Finally, the tester rarely announces themselves because revelation comes after proof, not before. When readiness is demonstrated consistently, recognition becomes unnecessary. The opportunity arrives naturally, and the individual often realizes in hindsight that they were being prepared all along. The absence of announcement ensures that when elevation comes, it rests on substance rather than show. The test was never about passing a moment, it was about revealing a person. Comfort is often mistaken for confirmation. When life feels smooth, predictable, and accommodating, people assume they are progressing correctly. Yet comfort, while pleasant, rarely demands transformation. It soothes rather than stretches, stabilizes rather than strengthens. Readiness, on the other hand, is forged in conditions that require adaptation. A person who has never been unsettled has never been required to grow beyond their current capacity. The difference between comfort and readiness lies not in how safe a person feels, but in how capable they become under strain. Comfort preserves what already exists. It protects habits, routines, and assumptions from challenge. Readiness disrupts them. When someone is truly being prepared for greater responsibility, familiar supports are often removed. This is not cruelty, but calibration. Muscles grow only when resistance is applied, and character follows the same principle. Comfort avoids resistance, readiness demands it. A life arranged to prevent discomfort may feel kind, but it ultimately limits development. Many people believe they are ready because they feel confident. Confidence, however, often grows fastest in safe environments. When risks are minimal, self-belief expands easily. Readiness is different. It is tested when confidence falters. A ready person does not depend on constant certainty. They function well even when outcomes are unclear. They can act responsibly while feeling unsure. Comfort protects confidence. Readiness teaches resilience. Comfort also narrows perspective. When everything functions smoothly, there is little incentive to question assumptions or refine judgment. Readiness requires exposure to complexity. It forces a person to encounter opposing viewpoints, unexpected obstacles, and moral ambiguity. These encounters sharpen discernment. Without them, a person may remain well-meaning but naive. Readiness is not about having answers. It is about learning how to think under pressure. Another distinction lies in responsibility. Comfort minimizes consequence. Mistakes are absorbed by systems designed to protect. Readiness introduces weight. Decisions matter. Outcomes affect others. A person accustomed only to comfort may react poorly when their choices carry real impact. They may avoid responsibility or become overwhelmed by it. Readiness develops the ability to bear consequence without panic or denial. Comfort often encourages entitlement. When needs are consistently met with little effort, expectation replaces gratitude. A person begins to believe that ease is normal and difficulty is unjust. Readiness corrects this illusion. It teaches that effort precedes reward, and that difficulty is not punishment, but preparation. This shift in mindset is crucial. Those who equate comfort with success often collapse when faced with sustained challenge. There is also a moral difference between comfort and readiness. Comfort allows values to remain theoretical. It is easy to believe in patience when nothing tests it, and easy to speak of humility when one is not challenged. Readiness turns belief into practice. It confronts values with opposition and asks whether they will endure. This is where integrity is proven, not in agreement, but in resistance. Comfort tends to isolate individuals within environments that affirm them. Readiness exposes them to people and situations that do not. This exposure reveals blind spots. It teaches empathy by removing control. A person who has never been uncomfortable may struggle to understand others' hardship. Readiness expands moral imagination by forcing engagement with realities beyond one's preference. Finally, comfort seeks stability, while readiness accepts movement. Comfort resists change, readiness anticipates it. A ready person is not anchored to circumstances but to principles. They adapt without losing direction. This flexibility is not weakness but strength. It allows a person to remain steady while conditions shift. The difference between comfort and readiness is not subtle. Comfort asks, "How can this remain easy?" Readiness asks, "How can I remain faithful, capable, and grounded no matter what comes?" One preserves the present. The other prepares for the future. Ordinary moments are often dismissed as insignificant because they lack drama, yet they are the very places where character speaks most clearly. Extraordinary character is rarely revealed in grand gestures because grand gestures are rehearsed, observed, and often rewarded. Ordinary moments, by contrast, are unguarded. They arrive without warning and pass without record. How a person behaves in these moments reveals not what they want to be seen as, but what they actually are. In daily life, repetition exposes truth. The way someone greets the same people each day, responds to routine frustration, or handles small responsibilities that no one celebrates gradually forms a pattern. These patterns matter more than isolated achievements. A single impressive act can be accidental or strategic, but consistency cannot be faked for long. Ordinary moments accumulate, and over time they testify to a person's inner posture. Extraordinary character is often quiet because it does not demand attention. It expresses itself through restraint rather than display. When provoked slightly, does a person escalate or absorb? When delayed briefly, do they complain or adjust? These responses seem trivial, yet they reveal emotional maturity. A person who can manage themselves in small irritations is far more prepared for large challenges than one who only performs well when stakes are high. Ordinary moments also reveal how a person treats power. Power does not only exist in positions, it exists in everyday advantages. The ability to interrupt, to ignore, to dominate conversation, or to dismiss another's concern are all small forms of power. How a person uses these in casual interactions is deeply telling. Respect shown when superiority is possible indicates humility that no title can create. Another revealing aspect of ordinary moments is how a person handles invisibility. When efforts go unnoticed and contributions are assumed rather than acknowledged, motivation is tested. Does the person withdraw, or do they continue with quiet diligence? Extraordinary character is marked by faithfulness without immediate reward. This quality cannot be developed through praise alone. It is shaped by repeated unseen effort. Ordinary moments also test honesty. Not the kind that risks punishment, but the kind that tempts convenience. Small exaggerations, omitted truths, and subtle manipulations often feel harmless because consequences seem minimal. Yet these choices accumulate into habit. A person who guards truth in small matters builds a foundation that holds under pressure. One who compromises casually often collapses when stakes increase. Patience is another trait revealed only in the ordinary. Waiting in line, listening to repetition, tolerating inefficiency. These situations offer no recognition for endurance. Yet they shape temperament. A person who cannot tolerate small delays often struggles with larger disappointments. Ordinary moments act as training grounds where patience is either practiced or neglected. Compassion, too, shows itself most clearly in the mundane. It appears in tone of voice, attentiveness, and willingness to pause for another. These gestures are easily overlooked, but they create environments of trust. A person who extends kindness when it is inconvenient demonstrates a depth of character that cannot be manufactured in crisis. The extraordinary is often built from the ordinary repeated with intention. No one suddenly becomes resilient, honest, or wise. These qualities emerge slowly through thousands of unnoticed decisions. Each ordinary moment asks a quiet question: will you act according to who you wish to become, or according to what is easiest now? Those who understand this do not despise small moments. They treat them as formative rather than filler. They recognize that life is not primarily shaped in exceptional circumstances, but in habitual ones. Extraordinary character is not revealed in what you do once, but in what you do daily when nothing seems to be at stake.